King Curtis stood at the highest tower of his castle, gazing over the vast kingdom that stretched as far as the eye could see. His kingdom, once a peaceful haven, now faced a threat from a rival nation that had grown bold and powerful. He knew he could not face this challenge alone. To defend his people, Curtis called upon his closest allies, his two childhood friends, Jude and Abriel, as well as the legendary brothers, Rick and Skipper, and a brilliant scientist named Rich. Jude and Abriel were fierce warriors, each with unique talents. Jude, with her sharp intellect and unmatched skill in archery, had been King Curtis's advisor for years. Abriel, known for her strength and courage, was a master swordswoman who could hold her own in any battle. The two women had fought alongside Curtis through thick and thin, and he trusted them with his life. Rick and Skipper, the brothers from the mountain clans, were as different as day and night. Rick, the elder, was a stoic and disciplined warrior, a master tactician who could predict enemy movements with uncanny accuracy. Skipper, on the other hand, was a wild-card, reckless but brilliant fighter, known for his unconventional strategies that often turned the tide of battle in their favor. Then there was Rich, the scientist who had helped the kingdom advance in ways few could have imagined. His inventions had turned the tide of many battles, and Curtis knew they would need his brilliance more than ever in the days ahead. The enemy forces were led by a ruthless general known only as the Warlord. He had gathered an army of mercenaries and dark sorcerers, intent on overthrowing Curtis and claiming the kingdom for himself. As the war drums beat on the horizon, Curtis called his council together in the war room. "We're outnumbered," Jude said, studying the map spread across the table. "The Warlord's forces are closing in from the west. We have maybe 2 days before they reach the capital. We can't just wait for them to attack us," Abriel added, her hand gripping the hilt of her sword. "We need to strike first." "I agree," Rick said, his voice calm but firm. "A defensive strategy won't work this time. We need to take the fight to them, surprise them before they can gather their full strength." Skipper grinned, already excited by the prospect of battle. "Sounds like my kind of plan. A little chaos could go a long way." Rich, who had been quietly listening, suddenly spoke up. "I've been working on something that might help us. It's risky, but if it works, we could turn the tide of this war." Curtis raised an eyebrow. "What do you have in mind?" Rich unfurled a parchment, revealing a complex blueprint. "It's an energy-based weapon. I call it the Pulse. It's designed to disrupt magical forces, neutralizing any sorcery the enemy throws at us. The problem is, I haven't had a chance to test it in combat." Curtis raised an eyebrow. "What do you have in mind?" Rich unfurled a parchment, revealing a complex blueprint. "It's an energy-based weapon. I call it the Pulse. It's designed to disrupt magical forces, neutralizing any sorcery the enemy throws at us. The problem is, I haven't had a chance to test it in combat." "We don't have time for tests," Curtis said, his voice resolute. "We either use it or we lose everything." The plan was set. That night, under the cover of darkness, the group moved swiftly toward the enemy camp. Jude, with her knowledge of the terrain, led the way, ensuring they avoided detection. Abriel and Skipper scouted ahead, silently taking down any enemy scouts they encountered. As they approached the camp, they could see the Warlord's forces, a sea of tents and soldiers surrounding a massive central command post. Dark sorcerers in black robes patrolled the area, their hands glowing with ominous power. Rich set up his device at the edge of the enemy camp, working quickly but carefully. "This should disrupt their magic," he whispered. "But once I activate it, they'll know we're here." "That's our cue," Skipper said with a grin, gripping his sword tightly. "Time to cause some chaos." As soon as Rich activated the Pulse, a bright wave of energy surged through the enemy camp. The dark sorcerers staggered, their spells fizzling out as the device disrupted their magic. The camp erupted into confusion, soldiers shouting and scrambling as they tried to understand what was happening. Rick led the charge, his sword cutting through the enemy ranks with precision. Jude stayed at the back, firing arrows with deadly accuracy, while Abriel and Skipper tore through the enemy lines, their blades flashing in the moonlight. King Curtis, with his golden crown shining in the darkness, fought alongside his friends, striking down anyone who dared come near him. They moved as one, a unit bound by years of trust and loyalty. The warlord, realizing his magic was useless, emerged from his command post, roaring in anger. He was a giant of a man, wielding a massive warhammer that glowed with dark energy. "You think you can stop me with tricks and toys?" he bellowed. Curtis stepped forward, sword in hand. "I think we can stop you with courage and loyalty. This kingdom will never fall to someone like you." The battle between Curtis and the warlord was fierce, their weapons clashing with earth-shattering force. But Curtis fought with a calm determination, knowing he wasn't alone. As the warlord raised his warhammer for a final blow, Abriel and Skipper struck from the sides, distracting him just long enough for Curtis to deliver the finishing blow. The warlord fell, and with him, the morale of his army crumbled. The remaining soldiers fled into the night, their forces shattered. As dawn broke, the group stood victorious. The kingdom was safe, for now. But Curtis knew this was just one battle in a larger war. "Well," Skipper said, wiping blood from his sword. "That was fun." Jude smiled, exhausted but relieved. "We did it. Thanks to all of you," Curtis said, placing a hand on each of their shoulders. "This kingdom stands because of our bond. And as long as we fight together, nothing can break us." Rich, tinkering with his now smoking device, chuckled. "Maybe next time, we'll test it before the battle." And with that, they returned to the castle, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead, united in friendship and courage. Thank you so much for watching to the end. I really appreciate it. Please don't forget to subscribe and like the video. This story has 3 parts.